Hi students, I stepped in front of the camera and I forgot all I had to say. Can you guess, can you take a wild guess what we are going to learn today? No? Alright, I'll give you a hint. When we are talking about two events or two incidents that take place one after the other very close in time, one incident immediately followed by another incident, or it's like an action, reaction, stimuli and response. One event followed by another event, one situation followed by another situation. Then, what are the phrases that we commonly use? Now do you get it? As soon as. And along with it, there are other phrases which we use and which can be interchanged without changing the meaning. So we are going to learn those phrases today. Alright, let's move on. Look at the sentence. As soon as I stepped in front of the camera, comma, I forgot all I had to say. Now when you interchange it to no sooner, what are the changes that you have to focus upon? Okay? Now, check the tense. This sentence is in the stepped, simple past tense. As soon as I stepped in front of the camera, I forgot all I had to say. So the tense is simple past tense. Now when you change it to no sooner, you add did. No sooner, because did is simple past tense. Did I, but then you have to change the main verb. When you add did, the auxiliary verb did, then you change this main verb to its base form. No sooner did I step, okay, with did. This is an important change that you have to do. Step, the main verb is in the base form. No sooner did I step in front of the camera. Now, you add a little word over there. No sooner needs a friend, and that friend is the word than. So children, it's very important to add this small word there. No sooner did I step in front of the camera than I forgot all I had to say. This part of the sentence remains the same. There is no change. Now, this word is than and not then. Alright? Remember than. So, no sooner the friend is than. Did, once you add did, because the sentence is in the simple past tense. So, when you add did, you change the main verb to its base form. And in front of the camera, then I forgot all I had to say. Now, when you change it to hardly had. Now, hardly had is the perfect tense, past perfect tense. So, hardly had, the main verb is in the participle form. Okay? Eat, ate, eaten. Drink, drank, drunk. So, the third, the participle form is used with had, always. So, hardly had I stepped in front of the camera. Now, just as no sooner has this little friend here, hardly had has the friend when. So, you add this little word here. Okay. So, hardly had I stepped in front of the camera when I forgot all I had to say. So, this part remains the same. Now, children, we'll do some more sentences and you will understand better. Okay. But before that, before we move on, check this word hardly here. Now, here the word hardly means as soon as, just as, immediately. But there is another meaning to the word hardly. For example, I say, she hardly speaks English. That means she doesn't speak English much. She converses in probably her native language, maybe Konkani, Hindi, Marathi. But she doesn't speak English much. I hardly eat any sweets. So I don't eat sweets much. I rarely eat sweets. So the word there, hardly, means not much, rarely, nothing at all. Okay? Here it means as soon as. Alright? Let's move on.
With the auxiliary did or didn't, we always use the base form of the verb. For example, did plus eat, didn't plus bring, did and announce, didn't get, did go, didn't ask. With the auxiliary had or hadn't, we use the participle form of the verb. Had brought, had eaten. I had read that book last year.
Students, check these sentences. Now this sentence is in the passive voice and not in the active voice. In the passive voice, there might not be a doer or a subject. So, here there is no subject. As soon as the lockdown was announced, people panicked. Okay? So, was announced. It's in the passive voice. Now, when this sentence is in the passive voice, how do you change it? No sooner was the lockdown announced, the friend has to be there, than people panicked. Past tense, passive voice. No sooner was the lockdown announced than people panicked. Now when you change it to hardly had the lockdown been announced. Notice this word here, been announced, because it's in the passive voice. When the friend has to be there, when people panicked. So check the voice. When you check the tense, you have to also check whether the sentence is in the passive voice or in the active voice. You'll practice some more sentences and then you will get it easier. Okay?
When the sentence is in the passive voice and the tense is the present tense, for example, as soon as the bell is rung, the children rush out. Now when you change it, no sooner is the bell rung than the children rush out. When the sentence is in the passive voice in the past tense, for example, as soon as the landslide was cleared, the train services were resumed. We change it as no sooner was the landslide cleared than the train services were resumed. Hardly had the landslide been cleared when the train services were resumed.
Okay, now these are situations which take place almost regularly, every day probably. So they are in the simple present tense. He wakes up, he checks his phone. So as soon as he wakes up, the first thing that he does is he checks his phone. We all do. So as soon as he wakes up, he checks his phone. It's very easy. As soon as he wakes up, he checks his phone. When you interchange it with no sooner, the change is no sooner does. Now since it's present tense, you use the word does and not did or was. No sooner does he wake up, this word has to be there. Wake up again, simple present tense. No sooner does he wake up than he checks his phone. Second second situation, let's take, as soon as she reaches home, her dog runs to greet her. So the minute she reaches home, her dog runs to greet her. No sooner does she reach home than her dog runs to greet her. So instead of did or was, the change here is does in the present tense. We'll do some exercises. Alright? You have to solve them, and that's your homework. Till then, I hope you've enjoyed this session.